Yes.
Hi, I'm Michael Pantone. I am a theater teacher with P811Q, Little Neck, Queens, and I work with high school students up to the age of 23 now.
Wow.
Hi everyone, wonderful to meet a lot of you for the first time. I'm Amanda McPhee, I'm the Director of Arts for District 75. If you are not receiving emails from me, I will give you my email. Please send an email to me so you can be added to the District 75 community email list. And so you can start coming to District 75 PDs. We have a lot on access and disability for support for working with the different populations of students across District 75. So I'm really excited to see so many new faces today and building out the theater community in District 75.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. We are blessed to be able to have Michael and many of his resources that he's offering with us today to help provide the structure for this morning's flow. So as we move through, stay tuned to what are the different sorts of tools being used to activate the room. Our warm-up, I will guide you through, is going to be one for the humans who are here in this room. I invite you to, we have the images here, we also have them before me. If you would like to touch how you're doing at the moment, I welcome you sharing with me. It's your choice. Or you can just look at the larger options there. How are you doing at the moment? And times it's more than one. It's many. If we're able to name them. I'm not commenting that. We as human beings are very complex, and it's absolutely fine to feel more than one thing at once. That's also makes us unique. So I invite you to take a breath and inhale through your nose like you're smelling the most delicious food or flower. And inhale, you are inhaling that most delicious smell. And exhale through your mouth. And I invite you to do 3 rounds of that. Inhale through your nose like you are smelling the most beautiful flower or yummy brownies. And exhale, and whatever comes out, if a yawn does, it's welcome. Inhale as if you're sniffing again. Yes, I like to hear that. 2 more rounds on your own. And if that inspires other pieces of your body, you are welcome. And this next inhale, thank yourself for being here in this moment, in this shared space. I invite you to float up from your chairs and please stand in 2 lines facing this way. We're going to make 2 lines. And if you make 3, let's make it 3. Let's go with 3. Look at you all. It's not look at you with your windows. All right.
That just showed you we weren't math teachers.
Oh, so we're gonna reach our arms up. So actually, let's go with the count. So we're gonna do a little line dance. Okay. To get us moving together. We're gonna be working with the fast 8 for your counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're gonna inhale. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then roll up, roll your shoulders up. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we're rolling forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we're gonna reach 2, 3, 4, and reach 6, 7, 8. As you reach, yes, plie, and reach, and then roll down 2, 3, 4, back up 6, 7, 8. Then we're going to give ourselves a hug and chin to chest. Allow yourself to help relax the cell phone head, the shoulders. So hug 2, 3, 4. We're going to need to stagger here because we're going to open our arms wide. 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So go ahead. Now that our arms are wide, find there space for you. And then we're going to hug again. If you can, switch arms on top. Chin to chest. 2, 3, 4. Stretch it out. 6, 7, 8. Now. All right. And then we'll do a little, you're going to have like 2 counts of 8 to freestyle. Or if you will step touch here if you want. Then we're going to move into a little electrics. 1, 2, 3, touch. Then we're going to get a little funky. Right? I'm your mirror. 1, 2, 3. You're going to hold on 3. So right, left, right. Boogie. Give me a boogie. Let's just boogie here for a bit. Yeah, just give me a little boogie. Give me a boogie. And then we're going to go right, left, right, left. And then boogie again. You're going to switch feet. A little boogie. And then we'll repeat again from our stretching. And we'll eventually turn to face each other. It'll be lovely. And we'll rotate around. So I'm going to have my friends here. You're going to be my center guard. Everyone on this side. When I say turn, you're going to turn to your right. And this side, you'll turn to your left when I say turn. All right. We'll turn. We're going to all do this together. Reach up and down for 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, again. Reach up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and down. Roll it up, roll your shoulder back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Roll them forward.
And the sunlight hurts my eyes.
Reach right. Left, right, left, roll down, 2, 3, 4, and up, 2. Give yourself a hug, 2, 3, 4, and reach.
And the world's alright with me.
Reach, repeat again.
Just look at you.
Reach.
And
Hug. Down, side, freestyle. Whatever you need to do to book your lovely day. Take it in, step. All right. That's our warm-up. Hooray, I passed to Michael.
Thank you. Thank you, Katie. All right, so just before we get this right, we're talking about warm-ups. Okay, so we're going to go through this 3 times. The first time, do we all start our lessons with a warm-up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take you just through what I do, and I really believe, Elise can attest to this, we worked together at the same school for a while. This has become like sort of a non-verbal thing in my room. All I need to do is put the music on, and at this point everyone knows what to do. Sometimes I just blow this up for some of like my 12 one-to-one students, so might not need the visuals. So let's just try to go through it. So and when I'm first beginning to teach this in the beginning of the school year, I sort of go through the images and I say hello, right? We're looking at what? What do we see up here? Clouds, right? So we're saying hello to the sky. So what we're going to do is we're going to reach out. All right? And then we're going to say what? Hello to what?
Ground.
The ground. All right? So we're going to hit the ground. Right? And then we're going to shake our head yes and shake our head no. And we're going to stretch our arms out on I don't know, because it's okay not to know. And then we're going to finish with jazz hands because we just have to. All right, so you can feel free to do this. I do this with every population, and I teach 12 one-to-4s, 6 one-to-1s, 8 one-to-1s, and 12 one-to-1s. I do this with every population. My 12 one-to-4s, many of them will receive some hand-over-hand support to do it with a paraprofessional or myself. So you can feel free to do this. Yes?
Do you use a choice board, like to show what, like to walk around with that as well?
I'd say more.
Like, I don't know, like when they want us to use visuals constantly, so I was just wondering if like you could adapt that into like a choice board, maybe a good point.
Sure.
If they're nonverbal, I'm just thinking.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I do all of my visuals are on I do everything. Well, not everything. I shouldn't say everything. Are you coming to the afternoon session
Yes.
with District 75?
Probably.
Because it's going to be more, it will be more hands-on with actual visuals and
Okay.
all of those
sorry,
kinds of
sorry to
support.
interrupt you.
We'll
No.
put some examples of choice board
Yeah.
and first then, or it's like.
I think that's coming in this,
Okay.
in this stuff. There's going to be a chock-a-block full of stuff for District 75 today. I love the whole bunch.
Because a lot of times you go to PD and they have nothing for us, so that's why I'm asking.
That's,
I'm sorry. I
no, but that's why
interrupt.
we're doing this.
Okay.
It's really important.
I'll give you the website.
Okay.
We had noticed, like, when we first started doing this, well, when I first started doing, there really wasn't any offerings for District 75. And every time I left here, I just, saying like, what might you do tomorrow in your classroom? And I was like, nothing without a whole lot of adaptation and work. So that's why we're here. So let's just give this a go. All right, so feel free to do it seated, standing up. This is my warm-up. Do it standing. The second 2 times I'll do it seated. The really important thing is to make the lines spread out. Give yourself some room if you chose this. Stretch our arms and get our voices. Hello, sky. Hello, ground. Hello, sky. Reach up, reach up. Hello, ground. Shake our head, yes. Yes, please. No, thank you. Yes, please. No, thank you. I don't know. Stretch, stretch. Here we go. Right here. Cheers. All right, part 2 of a warm-up. I won't necessarily do this with everybody. This might be for like my junior high, elementary. So this is just isolation. It's interesting that I was just kind of doing this in my classes without any music under it. One day a paraprofessional came in and put music underneath everything for me, so it all became like musical. So just so you hear one round of it, it goes. Here we go. We got head, shoulders, baby. Head, shoulders, baby. Head, shoulders, baby. Head, shoulders, head, shoulders, baby. Knees, toes, right? And then just, not to have us go through all of that, but we're basically, then it's grab the apple, scoop the ice cream, slice the pizza, climb the ladder, baby, around the world, baby. Alright, then the whole thing ends with going through it once. Head, shoulders, knees, toes, grab the apple. Alright, so, and we can make this available if anyone wants.
It's also just on YouTube.
Is that?
It's also just
Oh, it's also
on
on YouTube.
Because YouTube, Michael.
Michael Pantone. And then the third part of my warm-up is just a clap pass. I have found this to be really, really good practice just as far as like peer-to-peer interaction. So really, really good. It takes, for many of our students, a lot of training to be able to do this, right? Particularly our students with autism. We say it's okay to learn to connect in ways, doesn't mean we have to look at each other. But how can we connect in real, authentic ways? Because that's what actors do on stage. So that's how I sort of frame that part of it. All right, so
Would anyone like us to do the clap pass? Yes. Of it? Sure.
Yes. All right, let's make a big circle. Oh, we're in a big circle.
You clap pass. And that is
All right, so we're gonna just try to connect in the way that feels best for you.
I feel like we're going too fast for the music.
Whoops. Okay, there's so many variables, variations you can do on this, right? So now we're just gonna have it going both ways. If it comes to you, and it's coming at you from both ways, so say Jamie was sending it to me, and Amanda and Kate was sending it to Amanda. Amanda and I came together, we would go once, twice, and turn it. Okay? So here we go. There you go.
Choose one first.
Let's go.
Choose one.
What do you think?
Okay.
All right, good. Right, other variations, if I put my hands up, that would mean turn it back the other way. If I put my hand over my head, skip me. So all kinds of different ways you can play with this as the students advance through this exercise. So that was our check-in, and we talked about warm-ups. Did we do it?
Yep, we did.
Good, so I always use a check, right? To show, right? Keeping the students. I find it, at least in my mind, that it's transparent, right? This is what we're doing. Did we do it? Yes, we did. Oftentimes, if I have a student who's like maybe struggling a little bit to stay focused, I'll say I need you to watch for the green button so that we get a ding sound when the green check mark comes up. So little different things, say, you're having a rough day today and can't get you to focus, but I need you to watch every time the green check comes up, all right.
And a lot of times too, just to chime in, a visual schedule that Michael's gonna get into and talk about, it also is a reduction of anxiety for a lot of the students. In District 75, there's a lot of students who have had autism. And so having that understanding of what's happening first, next, and last, like really helps you segment the class. Like it is some 48 minutes, sometimes 52 minutes, depending on your school. And thinking about how you're structuring that time slot. Is it that your school follows, the workshop model and it's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, or is it that you have 8-minute time slots that you're chunking it into? Having that opportunity, whether it's check boxes, whether it's a finished receptacle, that really helps students have an understanding that if this is the worst part of that lesson, that it is very anxiety driving to them, that it's over. Like warm-up is finished and I can move on to something different. Or if it's their favorite part and they want to keep going, they know that we're finished and I may have to do something else, but something fun is coming again. So it's something that really helps to create a structure to the time that they're with you, especially when you may only have them once a week. And so it's a way to understand what's happening in this time together in the theater class.
That's all I have to say. So what we're going to talk about is visual schedules. All right. I think key for District 75 theater classes. I'm just
ride or die friends.
I'm just going to take you through what mine look like. You saw these a couple weeks ago. This is for an elementary class. So it's an actual physical schedule. It's kind of hard to see, but I have students' pictures up here so they know where they are. This is a color that they are assigned school-wide. So they know their color. So even in their classrooms, like this kid is purple. So if he might have purple pins on his desk, but wherever he goes, he's purple. So here, right here, it's very hard to see, but that says do now is the top thing. Then there's a piece of Velcro here, and down here says finished with another piece of Velcro. So what we're looking at here is the 3 components, the 3 areas of the class that I run for my elementary students. So it's circle time, it's group activity, and it's calm time. So what the students do as soon as they come into the room, they go right directly to this visual schedule. They will find their name, their color, they'll take the circle time, move it to do now, and then move into the circle. All right, so we do a certain amount of activities there, then the next thing we'll do, see, right, check schedule, circle time. Their cue to get up and move to the next part is check schedule. That's what we say school-wide, check schedule. So what you see then, check schedule, it's group activity. The do now from circle time will move down to finished, group activity will move into do now, right? So it's setting up the expectations, it relieves the stress for the students, you know what's happening, check schedule, and after a while they just get up and do it. And we found that almost across every population of students to do that. Same thing, then we go, right, last time, calm time. So the whole thing, so by the time they're done, the things have been moved all around. Tricky thing is there's no seconds at all between my classes. So I always get a paraprofessional while we're like calming down at the very end to take like my picture boards, change, get these things all scheduled back up and get the students' pictures off of that, the next class set up so that when they come in, it's there. If it's not there, not good. It's not good. All right, so that's my elementary visual schedule. That's how I sort of run the class, keep everybody on track. This, as you've seen, just from our work together, this is like something I do beginning of the school year, and I usually run this as a little unit that I do in September and January. All right, again, we go through it, did we do it, check. I have some kid, we did it, right? Check, we're moving on. All right. Then, this is a rehearsal schedule. This is what a rehearsal schedule can look like. All right, so I will always do a warm-up, which we did. It's that same exact routinized warm-up, right? We know where we are. You heard that music, you're in theater class. Everybody knows to get up, they know what to do. Then, I will do a stage direction activity or a game. And we're going to talk a lot about stage directions this afternoon. That plays into the skill of what they're doing in rehearsal. So during this time in September and January is where I'm really looking at skills in here. What do the students, play something like Grandpa's Looking at the Window, which is red light, green light, right? So can these guys freeze? Can this now build into a tableau, right? Freezing for a lot of my kids, tough, right? But playing red light, green light, they're not moving, right? So it's building on that skill. All right, so then we're in stage direction, games, building a skill, narrowing in on a skill that you're going to do in rehearsal. Then we do a scene rehearsal. I always film rehearsal, and then I play it back for them.
What do you record
On my phone,
Okay.
and then I just airdrop it to my computer, and I play it back. Assessment. I nail it every time. Every time.
Well, I like that. That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Every time. So I film every rehearsal.
Yeah.
Every rehearsal.
And just a shout out to Michael, because this process he's sharing with you, isn't that theater? Who you're working with, right? Kids ensemble. There's a lot of things happening. So this is smart work for all kids in practice.
Right. And just like we said, right? So I just took you through the way I run visual schedules. Did we do it?
Yes.
Ding.
Ding. Okay. Now we're going to move into transition supports. This is going into what might the students need as they're traveling, as they're transferring between circle time and group activity. All right, and Amanda's going to take this one.
All right, friends. So when Michael was talking a bit about the elements of theater class, this is where things, when you're thinking about those structures and how you're putting together that 48 and 52-minute block of time. Like, how are we scheduling that? Because a theater class is very different than math and ELA, and how are we speaking to it? We know that theater games build skills, right? We know that each specific theater game has a very specific purpose, and that we can use that to build in a scene for a show, that it can build a skill like freezing, it can build a skill like moving in a certain way, it can build a skill of building an ensemble. Like the clap pass that we did, it's paying attention to cues, it's paying attention to the ensemble in the room, it's body direction, it's having an awareness of your body in space, very, very challenging for students with autism, right? And so all of that is packed into one game where you're clapping and we're looking at our partner. You don't need to look at your partner, you just need to move your shoulders in the direction of your partner. So there are so many skills built up in a game, but when your administration's walking in, you're like, we're playing a game. But it's just thinking about how you're wording that. So thinking about the elements of your class, 50% being warm up, like Michael was telling you, and 50% being that theory and practice. So just something to think about when you're sectioning off that work, being like rehearsal and improvisation, and then that theater gaming, but in script writing and rehearsal. So some of the ways to think about those transitional skills and like how you're grabbing your props, like how are you organizing your space in a way that makes sense for your students to be independent. We're gonna go into more of this in the afternoon, but just really thinking about like the levels of your students and how this is working out for you. Like what are the cues? Like are we, continuing this work in the coloration? Is it something that we're using alphabetical letters? Are we using signs? Are we using their photographs in prop management? Is it something that we need picture cues? Is this something that people are familiar with using in their classrooms? Fantastic. One thing that I think is pretty big that we were trying to think about is thinking about props, costumes, and how we're organizing our materials. And just really thinking about how we are organizing our space to make sure that we have created ways where we can reduce anxiety in those transitions. So when we're asking students to go find something, you know, it's your turn to go on for the scene, or we're practicing using these are the supplies that you need. You know, are we saying just verbally and giving verbal cues, or have we matched it with something so that we're making sure that students have everything that they need to be independent in that transition? Again, labels. Have we noticed a pattern? Have we noticed a pattern of labels? Label, label, label. Label with pictures. Now, this is where labeling gets pictured, and I'm putting in a shameless plug. We're doing a big PD, a speech therapist and I are going to do a PD all about access. It's a full day, designed for District 75 teachers. Marissa came last year, but it's all about access, and we're going to go over all assistive technology and how to use picture symbols and how to create picture symbols, but it's in the District 75
Is
PD
it
catalog.
December 10th?
Yeah,
I'm on, yeah.
okay. Really important to come to. No. Sorry, it's 6 hours.
When you mean picture symbols, are you talking about symbol sticks and board maker?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, all of it, this.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's ways to think about it, and ways to think about the student's level of understanding in those, and different ways that we're gonna work and think about how we need to teach those so that students have an understanding, and how we teach those in reference to vocabulary. Because if it's not part of our repertoire of language, it's not gonna support in a transition. When Michael was talking at the beginning of the session and his routinization of routine, all of the warm-ups that Cheney did at the beginning and that Michael did in his warm-up, all of that can be used in your performance. All of those symbols that were used at the beginning, that's the vocabulary that the students are using in the theater classroom. So all of that language needs to be developed and needs to be part of the routine so that students can access that. So when you're thinking about transition, like, have we taught them all of that language so that if you're giving them this cue to get their prop, that they actually have an understanding of what the language is that you're giving them access to. Another great transitional skill. How are we on time?
We're good.
We're good? Okay. Is, how much?
But
Perfect. So good. Is visual boundaries. And what?
The painters pick you, they would love it.
I love it.
I do it in the class and the teachers hate it. I have a push card,
Listen.
but it is what it is.
I love it. I love poly spots. I love painter's tape. On Shop DOE, you can get a giant thing of different colors of painter's tape. It's the greatest thing in the world. Performance space and creating visual boundaries is so important, because a lot of times when you're working with students, they don't necessarily have an understanding of their body in space. They don't necessarily have an understanding of themselves in proximity to other people. So what does that play into in transition? What does that play into in understanding proximity to their partner? In the rehearsal space, from performance space to desk space, from how to move from their chair to the performance space. So how are we creating spaces so students understand? Because there's an abstraction from what I do in my desk, to what I do in the center of the room, to what I do backstage, to what I do as an audience member. So how am I teaching all of these spaces that exist in the theater world that don't exist anywhere else? And they're imaginary because your classroom looks the same as every other class, right? So you're creating this world that when I walk into Mr. Michael's room or Miss Kate's room, that it's like, okay, so when I walk into this room, this is a stage, but like, is it? So how do I make it look like that? And so how do I teach the students that this is that space, that I've created this physical boundary? Like, remember the days of Zoom and it was like, okay, draw your box. Well, so we're drawing that box. And maybe we have to draw like a pathway, like an aisle, like a chair, and there's arrows on the floor. And you know, because some students will just blow through the classroom, knocking over chairs and desks and all things. Who's seen that? not nothing. It's just teachable moments, right? And so all of these skills then help students understand the generalization of different behaviors in different environments. And so it's all kind of teaching students how to be independent in different environments. We're going to talk about all that this afternoon. Setting the stage, which we'll be getting into later, which is a very exciting thing. When Michael retires, we're going to stage in a bag contract. I think I put this.
We're gonna talk
This
about
is the
this.
marketing of stage in a bag.
We're gonna, I actually brought all of this with me.
Yeah, as I was like, this is my co-marketing of stage in a bag. But for art in a cart, who had like art in a cart, I was full on art in a cart. Stage in a bag, art in a cart. But just like really thinking about like the colleague spots. It's really, all of this is about, this is from Michael's classroom like a million years ago. This is pre-COVID time. But these are pieces of, it's creating the expectation. It's just like a schedule. It's really, when you're talking about transitions, we're talking, yes, there are transition skills of like post-secondary options, but the transitioning from one place to the next, that it's the expectation of where I need to go and making sure that you're giving students that understanding of expectation. And so if students are still working on precursor skills to that, have I given an opportunity for a student to be independent in this practice of that? So what have I placed into the environment? And so this afternoon, we're going to talk a little bit about something called an ecological inventory. Very, D75 word, but it's really looking at a space and saying, like, have I created a world that that students are dependent on me, or have I created a space where students can thrive independently? And so it's really looking at, have I given cues? Have I given the student the ability to navigate a space? Have I put everything in the highest level possible? Have I locked things in cabinets? Have I put blockades in the way? Or have I put something on the floor that she now knows that her yellow spot matches her yellow shoes, and she is yellow, and so she's going to all the yellow markers on the floor, and so now Jeannie can navigate to all of her prompts throughout the entire show. Hi!
Okay, so I'm going to be the doubting Thomas in the room.
You go for it.
So I work in Bellevue,
You got it.
where any object can be used for self-harm.
Well, so that's a different
Everything
deal.
has to be,
I have a hospital
locked.
instruction PD later today.
because so far I'm watching what's going on, and the reason I haven't been participating is I'm watching and thinking, how is this going to go on in my space, in my classroom, without this one getting hurt, that one,
So is the site,
I work with students who come for
No,
outpatient, and I work with inpatients and locked
so
wards.
is yours part of, but is it the one that where you were, just to correct if I'm wrong, that you're not allowed bringing in outside materials similar to hospital instruction? Or is it that you're allowed having classroom materials? Only because I've worked in both environments. I'm just in my mind trying to get the correct feedback.
Not allowed, what?
Because I feel like, I've worked at a lot of sites for 35, and I also work a lot with hospital instruction. So in my mind, I'm just trying to give you support.
I'm sorry to like.
No,
jump in
my
on
gosh,
this.
don't
That's
even
a good
worry.
question.
No. So right now, a lot of what Michael and I are talking about is very much classroom based. But
For example, we're not allowed to use the most basic materials because
So it's a very
everything
different
becomes,
yeah.
like, since I work with the littles up to the big kids, so the littles are taking the crayons and eating them and drawing and markers and whatever, making themselves up. And the older ones are taking the pencils and trying to
What was your
open their veins.
What was your first name? I'm so sorry.
Mark.
Mark, I would love to have a conversation with you because I've worked a lot
Because
with
this,
hospital instruction.
I would
and
love
I've
to
worked
do this,
No,
but this is like, wait a second, they'll
No,
never
listen.
let me do this.
I would love to have a different conversation with you.
Thank
a lot
you.
of this PD is about a very different classroom environment, but I've worked a lot with teachers in home instruction and a lot with some of our other sites that are similar
Okay,
to this.
thank you, I
And
appreciate
we've
it.
developed other ways
Thank
to work
you.
with this because it's a very specific
Thank you.
type of instruction.
Sorry.
So,
Cheney's
Cheney's also worked in this.
Yeah, I heard that, I was like,
Yeah.
yes, I gotta
So
like.
it's very specific, and so we'd love to have a conversation with you about that because there's different ways to approach this.
Yeah.
Like I did
Yeah.
something the other day where I was doing some movement with the kid.
Yeah.
So the little kid said, okay, here, and threw the chair at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
hi, it moved. I'm like,
Might-
yeah, you're right, it did.
I had that like last year. I feel like just anything soft, like poly spots, like they can't really hurt themselves with that.
I just did an ORS report because my kids were smacking each
Yeah.
other in the face.
Yeah.
And all out, like,
The kids eat everything.
But
yes.
For different environments,
Oh.
of what you're allowed to bring in.
Oh,
with,
I'm
like,
saying the
hospital
tape,
setup.
the
Yeah.
tape might be okay.
75.
Well, it's just like a,
Yeah, I get it.
different environments.
It's just a liability for a lot of things. I get it. I
Yeah.
understand.
It's just a different environment, but I would
Thank
love
you.
to have a different
Thank you, I'm
conversation.
sorry, I won't take
Yeah,
up any more
no,
time.
No.
But like, I would love to hear that as well
Yeah.
because we all have
We have
it's intensified for you.
behavior. Yeah, that's a big thing. Like,
And so I will say this, in terms of like when we're thinking about the services and supports of students across the district, one of the things that's really important is creating a structure and creating a routine. Like we're very much at the beginning of the school year. We're very much at the beginning of the school year where students, whether people want to have the conversation or not, the last 4 years has disrupted a lot. And this year is very different. And we have students that their education has been disrupted for a number of years. And a lot of people are feeling this. And so the piece of this is really thinking about, it's about knowing the students well and thinking about that individualized support for each class. And well, for each student, but thinking about what works for each class. And it's that those structures that help support and reduce anxiety for that environment. So it's thinking about communication, it's thinking about how we're structuring our lesson and how we're helping students anticipate what's happening next. And so how are we as educators preparing our students for that 48, 52-minute class period? And really thinking about those routines, that repetitive instruction that happens in those warm-ups, some of that theater gaming that takes place, and really how are we structuring that class period? Because the beginning of the year takes time, and a lot of the times as theater teachers, and I'm getting the time, so I'm sorry, but a lot of the times as theater teachers, we don't see the students as much as the classroom teachers do. So it's really developing relationships with the classroom teachers and finding out what behavior strategies work for those students, and then bringing that in to our classroom. Like what strategies work? Like is there a pattern of a schedule that works? Do first then boards work? Is there communication boards and symbols that the students have a handle on already if the students are not speaking that work in that classroom that I can bring in so that the students have a repertoire of language? So it's really, we need to be masters of communications, kind of masters of behavior, but it's really looking at how we're structuring that time of our class. And then when it's going to take time, like we're really we had so many days off in October, but really just looking at it and giving yourselves like a lot of grace because it's really hard. The beginning of the year is hard. And knowing that a lot of these practices that you've been putting in and these routines, you're gonna start seeing the results in November and December, I promise.
Thank you.
And then turning it to Cheney, because she's shutting me
You're
off.
seeing. These are all
You'll start
seeds.
seeing it, I promise.
Seeds for growing. All right, so then we do our transitions.
Yeah, did we do transitions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we did, ding. All right, just gonna talk about assessment really, really quickly. This is what I use. This is what I use. I teach to it at the beginning of the school year. I teach exactly to it, what it means, And I bring the slide up whenever I need to during a lesson. Let's just stop for a second and what are we thinking about as we're working through this session today? All right. At the end of the lesson, this can be distributed in many different ways. It can be an actual physical paper that I've done. I also have it. Did I bring it? I didn't bring it. Did I bring it? I brought one. Or just,
Yeah.
right, circling it. You'll see I have 2 levels here. So this is like a level that I will put up on the board. When I come back to it, I will put this up for sort of my 12 one-to-ones who can read and write. And they'll have a physical piece of paper, or I'll give them this where they can write. And here are some suggestions. I'm frustrated. Why did you give this, right? So it's like, why did you rate yourself this way? So for some of my students, to help them along, almost like a sentence starter a little bit. So I have different levels, right? So I have like really very few choices, right? Not a whole lot of choices. Here, you got some more choices. Why? And here, right, this is going to be as most independent as possible. All right.
Nice, differentiated.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
So-
My school has like a specific form they use, but I could tweak that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, but hopefully what we're going to do now is when we finish up with this, is we're going to just get best practice with that. So we can just find out who's doing what, what's working, and let's all just share resources.
You guys can share these resources, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, this is keeps me, anyone who comes in and says, where's your data?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I just created this. This is a Sandy rubric. And I just rate the kids. I'll do a skill that I'm actually working on, and I'll rate the kids. So if somebody comes in and they says, oh, I see that they circled this, and you just wiped it off. How are you collecting it? Right, how often are you sitting down and filling this up?
So once a month, but this year I even added more to this,
Okay,
and I made Google Forms and a QR code, and so the staff, I have whatever that skill is, and I give it to the staff, and the staff says, this student, like let's say the skill is specific movement or rehearsal. I have the 4 levels here out of 4, and my options are like, they did it independently, they did it with minimal prompts, they did it with consistent prompting, or they did not meet the goal. And so I have it after every class now.
great.
So that once a month I can go in and look at that thing, and I can be like, okay, they were a 2 every time.
Great. Perfect.
I think the Sandy is brilliant because they're always pushing Sandy, and we as kind of coverage, they never even think about us utilizing it. So my assistant principal would love that.
Yeah, this is, this is,
Love it.
I'm doing it.
Great.
Yeah.
I got it.
That is so good.
All right, so assessments, did we talk about them?
Yes.
Ding. All right, JD.
Thank you very much. My friends right here, 1, 2, and 3. Would you all be willing to go to sit?
Sure.
Go downstage. We're gonna flip and turn upstage. And our community over here, let's turn it so our focus can be on this board. With our time that is left, and please know, Michael, am I correct that this Google Slides is in the PD blah blah blah?
If you guys,
I don't think
if
so.
you email me, we'll send it to you. I know they say sometimes, yeah.
So make contact with Amanda, and here's Amanda's email address, webpage, take note of this. So some glows, some shout outs, what is working well currently in your classrooms or that you've observed in other rooms relating to visual we're gonna look at these 3 areas of visual scheduling, transition supports, and assessments. So think about visual scheduling. What's working in your party room? Yes.
Okay, I have a picture for each activity. It's not labeled, and over on the side, I have a whole bunch of check marks. So we do everything on the smartboard. I use wheelofnames.com for all my choosing, so I don't favor kids who are more verbal. I pick a kid at the beginning through that randomly. That's the schedule keeper.
Wheelofnames.com?
Yes. You don't have to install it.
the wheel.
They love it. And then that kid that kid that is the schedule keeper, they come up every time we finish and they drag and drop. A lot of my kids cannot drag and drop and they need to for nice stuff. So that is something else you can
That's
say.
great.
Hi,
Ooh,
they
great.
Hey. I'm doing I do an emotional warm up. So we do I have a whole pictures of different emotion and they pick an emotion. And then the other day I got observed and one of them, we're doing the play Annie, so I'm doing character analysis and plot. And he actually told my AP, it was a miracle. He said, Annie is sad and depressed because she doesn't have parents. And he went off because he knew from the pictures that I taught him because he didn't have any idea. So the emotional warm up and clicking the social emotional learning in with the characters, because I feel a lot of them, you want them to perform, but they don't get why is she sad? Why are we singing about this? And then I'm starting to use that connection. It's really working. So
I art on a cart, and so I have this massive Chevy Suburban sized cart that I have zip tied whiteboards to one side, and so one side of it is our schedule for the day that I change every day, and that I use tape to break up between warm up and schedule, the rotating schedule, that 50-50 thing we saw earlier. And then the other board is for content, classroom rules. I keep those on little magnets. I keep the major scale up on magnets because my kids use they like that. That's their thing. So using my cart and using all the walls of the cart because they like to get into it. So then I just block it with visuals, right? So the other side of the cart has a running list of songs that we know that they say they know, right? They know the ABC song that's written on that page. The other side of the card is visual prompts of I use the Twang Farm by Jen DeRosa a lot. I use that mood meter, right? So I have those all laminated and hanging from the side of my cart to kind of block them from seeing the box of puppets at the bottom that I don't want them to go into.
Wow, you mean Barnum and Bailey?
Yes. Oh, it's a lot like a circus. Absolutely. Yes.
Every day.
Yes.
I have two warm-ups that I've been doing with kids that are great. I have all different levels, all different classrooms. Sometimes I'm teaching 3 classes in one room with different levels. So there's one game we do, it's a circle dance. So you take turns dancing in a circle, and when you're done, you tap the shoulder of another person, then they jump in. So I found a way to modify it using color placements for the students that have a challenge with space. So if a student may have a challenge with space, they can pick the color that they want and then stand. Because sometimes just being in a circle is a lesson plan in itself. And then something else I've been doing is using African drums with rhythm. And that's excellent for nonverbal students because you can use it as conversation. Music literacy with sequence.
Rhythmic cues.
Rhythmic cues, yeah.
That's good. I have a word wall with visuals that my admin loves, which it's not all, even if you push in, mine is just on a little poster board that if I have to carry it around, I can carry it around. And I basically just have Velcro, and then as I introduce a new ensemble or rehearsal, it has the word in a picture, so I'm just okay, we learned a new word. And then that way, let's rehearsal. And it's helpful.
Oh, yes.
I like having my kids lead warm-ups, and so with my 12 to 1-to-1s, at this point with those classes, I only have 2 of them. I just say, okay, who's gonna do tapping, who's gonna do stretching, who's gonna do circles, and then they're gonna do those and pass them around. And it's great because they're not only warming up, but they're also looking at each other, following whose turn is next, picking who's the next person. With the 6s, it took me longer to figure out how to do that. I have 2 sheets. One is a faces and a whose turn is it style sheet, and then the other is you had your different warm-up sequences, except mine are Velcro, and so they'll pick one, they'll say I want to do this one, then we'll all do that motion, and then they'll pick who goes next, and get up and give the cards to that person, and that's how we do that with this exercise warm-ups. That's worked really nicely.
Oh, fantastic. Let's think about transition supports. Oh, one
May I
more.
just add something to the card thing I think is important? I put the learning goals and vocab on one side of that, on that content side of the whiteboard, and I know that's important for when you get observed. They always want to make sure your learning target is on the board, and so I find it more helpful to just have it on my cart instead of having to walk into a room and immediately write it down.
Yeah.
Because like, I should
Yeah.
spend that first transition time with the kids, making sure they're together, not me together, you know?
But you can do like a self doing it on a card. Like, I'm sorry, that's brilliant. Doing it on a card is like the big, anyone that's teaching, I
I
have classes.
have it on the card too.
You guys are on the card, I give you guys
Yeah.
so much credit, just like,
I have the right.
it's amazing.
Your card sounds awesome.
I mean, my card gets a lot of things are stolen on it, but
Oh, all the time! Oh, we have a new rule, respect the teacher's card.
You guys just want a card, you want a
Card.
card.
You want a card, want a bag, you know, you want a station bag, a card. Let's think about transition supports, transitioning. What's working well in your party? Yes.
the smart board and having like constant, like, okay, we're done, and then that's all done, check off, and then that's how they remember, because like, it really regulates them. It's really awesome.
What else? Yes.
A dance break.
Dance break, thank you. What else?
Music is excellent for transitioning.
Oh, we have different music
Meditation.
Oh.
Music, like Michael was using, music, calming music, different music cues, depending on what you're teaching. Music literacy in general.
So for me, the transitions happen pretty organically with the flow of my room that how I've set up my room. I've been very lucky to have a large space. And I had an obnoxious column in the middle of my room that I turned into a tree. Used some vinyl, I got some garland around the top of it, the kids decorated little flowers, and it's like, so it's sort of like the, what divides our room. So when they come in, they know to put their bags in their chair. We go to a warm-up circle, which is little pads on the floor. We do the same warm-up every day. And of course, I had visuals for all these things, pictures and all that. And then they know that when we're done, we do a round of applause, like a literal round of applause.
We do.
Pat on the back. And then we get up and we move to the moving area of the room where I have a taped stage on the floor with upstage, downstage, center stage, all of that labeled. We do our body warm up and we do a face warm up, and then they know that the next transition is to go back to the chairs for whatever we're going to do for the activity for the day. So that's the part of the lesson that is different every day.
I'm calling it a set piece
Yeah.
space divider.
Yeah, and
AKA, it could be a curtain if you have a place where you have, you know, or.
Yeah, and I do have pictures of the tree, and it was just vinyl that I got on Amazon.
Very
I've
nice.
been helping figure it out. It just stuck on, and it's amazing, and I love it. I love my tree.
Just going off of that, some really smart with that is some of the spaces, while I have incredible art on a card that's happening, sometimes we do have really large spaces and very few students in a class. So dividing your class into really functional workspaces is really smart because the students can be overwhelmed in really large spaces. So what is my responsibility or my action in this space? And can I activate the space to say, like, this space is for this, and it's sectioned in a small, like, really beautiful or, you know, more manageable area so that the students can't like run around the space, or, you know, is it something that's sectioned off? Sometimes you'll see that in elementary classrooms. But you still that may be needed in middle school and high school depending on what the students' needs are.
Yeah, all of my students are on the autism spectrum, so they love the routine. I mean, any one of them could do the warm up now. It's kind of nice, yeah.
Makes me think of also the benefit of I call it turtling. Do we have assigned areas or people that we know when you need to have a break? You know, assigning those spaces in the room and also humans for when we need a break. Let's do one round robin thinking about assessments before our time is over. What's working with assessments in your parties?
My school has something called Medal Quest. I don't know if you guys use it. Medal Quest. So they earn like gold, bronze, or Medal Quest, gold, silver, bronze. So like it's, well, the whole school does it. So I do that as like, did you do your work? So that assessment clicks into my assessment. So like, then I have like just independent, do they need verbal prompt, visual prompt, or completely full prompt, and then independent level. So it's like, that's how we do it.
So is Metal Quest an app?
Metal Quest is like a school-wide thing, and then we do our assessment, and then we do that. Metal Quest is like for behavior and for work. So like we have our own, like our
Is
school.
it like Class Dojo?
No, it's
Isn't it
like,
it's your PBS model, PBS model,
Yes.
right?
yes, I'm just doing what they want, so.
Yeah, it's like they're working towards like a medal for like we earned these points and it's a positive behavior.
Yeah.
And this is the space, if there's something you don't, that's new to you or you're not understanding, speak up. This is our resource room here.
I think it's important to speak to the staff in the room and for feedback. What's working, what's not working,
Absolutely.
what should we do, implement, and giving paraprofessionals voice in the room because they have a lot more knowledge than some people realize with behavior management. So I think that's a really good self-reflecting tool as a teacher because they're always learning.
It's also,
It never stops.
it's just human and sets up for buy-in,
Exactly.
when that voice is heard.
Exactly.
Mark?
I only have my students usually for a maximum of 4 weeks. And although some of them, unfortunately, because of diagnoses, I now have one young woman that's been there for over a year. Because I want them to try to get the most out of the experience, and I'm teaching them art, music, dance, theater, the whole 9 yards, because of budget cuts. I ask them ongoing, like after 2 or 3 days, is this working for you? If not, would you like to try this? And I invite them to choose the curriculum. If something's not working, I don't have a cart, I would say I have a bag of tricks, and there's like 5 other things that are coming along that I could go into instead.
So like switching between.
For example, I was doing Xanadu with the middle schoolers because it's about Greek mythology. They hated it. And so we just finished, we just finished Monsters on Maple Street. And we're about to start Addams Family. The older kids loved Maple Street, and then I found something where it's reinterpreted as in terms of modern terrorism. And then now we're doing Little Shop. And they not oddly, but I would say insightfully, said, why are we learning about this play which talks a lot about people with mental illness? So I have to tweak my lessons and be mindful all the time how it might land over there.
And it's because also the rotating nature of your community, you've got to always be checking in. You've got to always be current and really in the moment. I'm familiar with your spaces there and the ask for, and all of your spaces too, ask us to be our most present selves, everyone in that room. No matter if it's a para or a guest. And that is, I think, one of your many superpowers that you all have. And so try not to forget that, the ability to be present with self and each other and to go with the flow. Be adaptive and flexible. I think we are going to type these or share these with Peter, Avery in some way so they can be distributed, but take your photos, take your notes. These are the globes that you said are working, and want to highlight, we were thinking about what places to grow alternative materials. How do we, just what are some options? What do we need, when and why? And can we have 12 options to help suit that or working towards that anyways? We're at time, everybody. Oh. That went quickly. Thank you all for